Well, hello everyone. Hello everyone. I hope everyone is well. Welcome to this week's episode where I am going to discuss how I got rid of 90% of my stuff before leaving the United States. First off, in order to move forward with your life, because essentially that's what I did, and perhaps I'm assuming that that's what you want to do, because that's why you're watching this video. You have to be very, very realistic with all that you have accumulated. Because if you're like me, I've been here decades, and along that journey, I have collected a lot of stuff. Things that I've bought, things that have been given to me, things that have, in terms of gifts, things that have been passed down to me, things that I have inherited. So it's a whole conundrum of things that we have, or that I certainly have. And I don't think that I am unusual in this whole step, this whole part of life. It's just part of life. And today I want to give you a different insight into decluttering, because essentially that's what this is all about. But it's not your typical decluttering video. And there's nothing wrong with following Marie Kondo as she gives you ideas on how to fold t-shirts and do closets and organize the physical stuff. Nothing wrong with that. I'm not condemning that. I'm just saying there's another part of clearing everything out, and that is what I want to discuss with you today. I have several areas to go over, and I will save the most important to the last. So without further ado, let's roll. The first step is to recognize there's a lot of stuff that goes on in here. It's the mental stuff, the mindset stuff, so to speak, because a lot of the belongings that we have, I would suggest probably a good chunk of them have got some sort of sentimental value, whether it be a good sentiment or a bad sentiment. And that could be, for example, maybe a dress that you bought, that you went to an event that has fond memories. It could be a painting that your children did as a youngster, or maybe a report card. I, in my clearing out, found report cards from when my mother was a child. Now that's nearly 100 years ago. So all this stuff accumulates, and we tend to think about the story behind them, the gifts that we got, the experiences that we had, the souvenirs that we bought. We tend to think of those sort of things, and we associate that with this item. But the thing is, and it's so important to understand this, the thing is that those memories never ever leave us, that they will always be a part of who we are and what we've become. And so it's getting a complete understanding that this cup, which was given to me by my nephew when he was 4 years old, I'll never forget what he was like when he was 4 years old and he handed it to me. But it's just an object, and it's a memory behind it. So it's dealing with those mental issues. We've been given things that we like, and that we love, and that we don't love, and yet we hold on to them. Things that we like, we either buy them because it's a necessity, or it's something that somebody gave to us, and we just would feel guilty if we gave it away, if they came into our home and didn't see this Ming vase. Or it could be something that was given to us, or we inherited from someone that we really didn't like, and yet we hold on to it because of that guilt factor. And it can be overwhelming, it can be stressful, and we want to take a step past that, and we want to understand that those are all memories that will never ever be taken away from us. Does this resonate with you? Let me know in the comment box below. And so the next step is to do this decluttering, this clearing out so that you can move forward, is to the physical stuff. And it's a lot. I get it. Been there, done that. And so it might be running through your mind, how in the world do I start? Where do I start? How can I do this? This is just overwhelming. And I get that. I completely understand. It resonates with me. But if you take any task and you break it down into sort of bite-sized pieces, what is that saying? You just bite the elephant bit by bit or something like that. If you take this process very slowly and don't put any pressure on you in terms of got to get it done, got to get it done, got to get it done, because if you do that, it will not work. You will go so far and it will just become overwhelming. So you need to give yourself some sort of grace and say, okay, I know that this needs to be done. And here is what needs to be done. Make a list. And here is the time frame. And be really realistic in your process. Say I'm going to go into bedroom number 1. There's a chest of drawers, for example. It's got five drawers. And I'm going to go through each one of those drawers. And if it takes me 2 months, it takes me 2 months. But I am going to do it in that way. For me, my move actually took 2 years. Now, I have to be forthright with you, because during that 2 years, when I determined I am going to move, I had to sell a house, sell a car, sell belongings, get rid of belongings, pass belongings on. And then ultimately that 10% that was left, I had to find some place for it, pack it all up. So it is a process. That's ultimately what I'm trying to say. It doesn't happen overnight. And you have to show yourself grace. You have to say, bravo, and in my case, bravo, Carolyn, you've done this. And you just say, bravo, I've collected, I've cleared out 5 pairs of shoes that I never ever have worn, or I've worn on one occasion and they don't suit me at the moment. So on the physical side, you also will be realistic and understand that sometimes you need help. Oftentimes you need help. And there are 2 areas to consider. One is to hire someone who's experienced in doing this, a third party, a neutral party, someone who doesn't look at it through sentimental eyes, but knows the questions to ask. You could hire someone, or you can bring a family member or a friend in to help you, and get them to do the physical work. And if as much as you can, as you can, it's so important not to rely on them to make the decision, because you're in charge. This is your show. You need to grab hold of it. And there are so many ways to pass on this stuff that you've collected. And you can pass it on to family members and friends. Isn't it a lovely, lovely idea to pass on that brooch that was your grandmother's to someone who would really, really love it and admire it and respect this item, and you being able to see that joy in their eyes rather than giving it to them when you're not here. So in my mind, that's so important, to pay it forward, to pass it on to someone who actually can appreciate the item. Of course, there are so many charities, and in this day and age, sadly, there's a lot of people that need help. And I feel that it's my responsibility to pass on what I don't use or need. If you are, for example, a collector of, I don't know, salt and pepper shakers, maybe that's something that's a hobby. Fair enough, don't disregard a hobby or a collection. But if you are, for example, have 15 frying pans and 4 burners, how many frying pans do you really need? That's a question for you. That's 11 other frying pans that someone else might be able to use. Someone else who can't afford to go out and buy that frying pan for their family. So it's almost your obligation to pass it on. At least that's what I feel. And I feel that that's so important to the world as a whole, not to hold everything back and not to have that mindset of lack. Oh, will I need 11 other frying pans? I don't live that way, and I'm suggesting maybe you take a different viewpoint and think the same way. Well, my name is Carolyn Shabaro, and I have been here on this itsy bitsy place in the internet for several years. And my goal is to motivate you and inspire you to live your dream life without sounding woo-woo and like everyone else. My goal is to help you move forward. And in this section of my videos, I'm passing on all that I have learned, I've experimented with, I've made loads of mistakes, and that's the purpose of me standing here in my sister's kitchen in Wales in the UK after having left the United States 4 months ago, yeah, with my Chihuahua. And this is the Chihuahua. This is Miss Evie. She's had a rough old time since she's here. She's been to a surgeon. But she's been a trooper. And if you are a dog lover, you'll know the attachment that I have to her. If you're not, apologies in advance. It's just something that we do. It's just something that we do. But this is Miss Evie. And before I continue, I want to tell you about a membership that I am creating in September. It's bringing women together so that we all can move forward. I have a wait list below. If you just fill that in, simple form, I will notify you when we are going to roll with that. So I said the most important thing is the most important step in clearing everything out and moving forward is this last step. And that is the decision that you need to make. There is no point in moving forward and deciding that you're going to do this without a real heartfelt decision. And it comes from your gut and it travels up to your head and it just motivates you. Nobody else is going to help you in terms of with the decision. They can advise you, but then you have to take that feedback that you get just as feedback. But you have to decide that this is something that you want to do. And you need to see the future and the future you after having cleared everything out. The mental part of it, the physical part of it. And you have to make a decision, because without a decision, it's just a thought. And you'll start, as I've said previously, you start and you'll find some excuse. And then you'll say, you know, I knew it wouldn't work. I just knew it wouldn't work. And that's not the way that this will work. You have got to decide. So enough said about that. If you, oh, and before I forget, I have got a membership that's starting in September, where I'm going to bring like-minded women in a community together. And I would love you to join me. I've got a wait list below. I hope you've enjoyed this video for this week. I would love your comments below. And until my next video, stay well, stay safe. Toodles.